Hello and welcome. I'm Jackie Stennett, a U.S. Army veteran and the Vice President of Academy Women. Thank you all for taking time out of your busy schedules to join us for today's event. For 2023, Academy Women's Career Coaching Workshop, which is held as an annual event, will continue to extend its reach by bringing you a monthly webinar series. As with our annual career workshop, which will be held this year as a hybrid event on 13 April, with options to attend in person or virtually, the monthly webinar series will provide insights from subject matter experts and thought leaders who share their knowledge on a broad array of topics designed to support the professional and personal development of military leaders, where we welcome participants from every branch of military service and every duty status from across the United States and around the globe. For those who are in or considering a career transition, be sure to stay tuned until the end of today's webinar, where you'll have the opportunity to connect directly with a member of Deloitte's talent acquisition team for a Q&A group session. Today, we are pleased to welcome Deloitte as our presenting partner, one of Academy Women's longest-held partnerships. Deloitte first stood with us in 2012 in support of our mission over 10 years ago, and has stood with us through the growth of many of our programs, including the webinar series you're participating in today. Thank you, Deloitte, for your continued commitment to military women and the military community. A special thanks goes out to Leah Jones, Brennan O'Boyle, and Kevin Werity, military veterans who work diligently behind the scenes at Deloitte to ensure military members are supported as they transition into meaningful careers subsequent to their service. You'll meet the Deloitte team shortly, but first, I'd like to introduce Susan Phelan, who will be your host today. Susan is a U.S. Air Force veteran, a graduate of the U.S. Air Force Academy, and is the founder and president of Academy Women. We've got a lot to cover today, so let's get started. Please join me in welcoming Susan to the virtual stage. Enjoy the discussion, everyone. I hope today's event will be helpful to you as you navigate your next steps. Susan, over to you.
Thank you, Jackie. I'm Susan Phelan. It's my pleasure to welcome you to today's webinar series. We are in for a great treat. Leah Jones is the lead experienced veteran recruiting specialist for the National Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion team at Deloitte. In this capacity, Leah also serves as Deloitte's program manager for the Hiring Our Heroes Corporate Fellowship Program, where she continues to pay it forward by helping fellow veterans, military spouses, and caretakers jumpstart the next chapter of their careers. Prior to joining Deloitte in 2022, Leah served over 11 years on active duty in the United States Navy as a naval officer and SH-60B helicopter pilot, accumulating over 1,500 flight hours in over 7 different types of aircraft. Leah holds a Bachelor of Science in Aerospace Science and Technology from Western Michigan University, is the military spouse of an active duty naval officer and the mother of 3 young girls. Brennan is the senior experienced veteran hiring recruiting specialist in the National Military and Veteran Recruiting Team at Deloitte. He served 4 years on active duty with the U.S. Marine Corps Infantry. After his military service, he completed his bachelor's degree and MBA in his hometown of Chicago, Illinois. Kevin is the National Military and Veteran Acquisition Lead at Deloitte, where his efforts focus on recruitment, onboarding, and retention strategies for transitioning veterans. Prior to joining Deloitte in 2009, Kevin served 6 years on active duty with the United States Navy as a human resources officer. He completed his academic studies and his degrees from the U.S. Naval Academy, Loyola University of Chicago, and the University of Florida. Kevin currently resides in Jacksonville with his wife and kids. So you can tell we have an amazing team of veterans and leaders who are joining us from Deloitte. So thank you, Leah, thank you, Brennan, and thank you, Kevin. With that being said, I am going to invite Leah to take over.
Awesome. Thank you, Susan. What is Deloitte? It is a professional services firm. And what exactly does that mean to you all? It means that we help our clients solve their problems. And as you see here, you see a map. What does that mean for you? It means that Deloitte essentially is a very large place. We are global. We are full of many, many employees, and we are a great firm. And with that and how big we are, there is ample space, ample room for you to move vertically, but as well as horizontally. So you can look at all those numbers here for a second. I won't go too fast. All right, and going further into how Deloitte is made up, it is within 5 business areas, like to call them buckets, if you will. So on the screen there is audit and assurance. You have consulting, risk and financial advisory, tax, and internal services. Internal services is where my team lies, the talent recruiting, things like that. Audit and assurance and tax are more self-explanatory, but I'm going to focus my efforts here, my discussion on the consulting and risk and financial advisory. Those 2 buckets are where we find that the veteran community, all the skills and qualities that you have, we find that those are the 2 business areas that transfer well with your background and everything like that. All right, I'm going to break it all down a little bit more. So here is an example, and again, this is just an example, nothing too specific, of a weekly schedule of a consultant. You look like you're traveling Monday and maybe traveling back home on Thursday or Friday, lots of meetings and things during the week while you're on location visiting clients. Again, this is just an example. It's not very typical always, but the thing is if you do go, there's 2 areas within Deloitte as far as the commercial side and the GPS, the government side. We do say that we quote that up to 50% on the commercial side, you may be traveling to clients. And then on the government side, about 20 to 30%. And also, this is insert remote working. A lot of times you can meet clients remotely as well. So again, this is just a hypothetical overview of what you may encounter. And going into some myths and misconceptions, again, consulting, it's very rigorous, lots of travel, all sorts of things, no family work-life balance, all of those things. You have to specialize early, and just traveling is robust. I mean, granted, maybe you'll be a jet setter, but it's just a lot. And that's not necessarily true. I mean, it's very similar to the military where you will have weeks that are heavy, that you may travel, you may be, having to go be deployed for a little bit or something like that, like the military. But with Deloitte, I mean, it's week to week. Some weeks are heavier than others, and what. So it does provide a balance. And specializing early, as you can see there in the middle one, that is not necessarily true. We encourage you to definitely seek out, network, try to figure out where your best fit will be once you come on board here. And lastly, going into the travel, I used to be in the Navy, and a Navy ship is nowhere near as nice as the accommodations that you will be provided by Deloitte when you travel. Just throwing that one out there. And again, going into key attributes we find that the veteran community has. I mean, like I said, Susan said, I am a mil spouse as well as a veteran. So I see both sides, and these really do translate to both sides, I promise you. So here we have several key attributes listed, and interpersonal skills and innovation, planning, leadership, adaptability, all of those things, we know you guys potentially have. And we find that they are the skills that translate best to the professional services business. Unlike the military, where things are given to you, you have to be 110%. Everything is, whether you want feedback or not, you're gonna get it. Especially at Deloitte, it's a little bit different. We tell you that you are in charge of your fate. You are in charge of your career goals and everything you want it to be. So we encourage you to understand that not everything is going to be 110%. You may need to go off that gut feeling of being 80% good feeling, I guess, or accurate. And then going from there, working with that, you need to request feedback, just constantly ask people, network, like I said, just go after people trying to give you help, assistance, feedback, everything like that. That is how you will succeed within Deloitte. All right, and then why Deloitte? I personally, here's 10 reasons that why you would want to join Deloitte, why you would, come be a part of our team. For me specifically, I love the people and culture. I am recently new to Deloitte within June, I would say. And I have to say, I'm pretty sure I've asked every dumb question there possibly is to anyone I can come across. And they are so genuinely helpful and really do want to help, and they're very nice. So the community for me specifically on that regard is so great. Also, going into further in the veteran community, we have many opportunities for you to connect with veterans. We are over 3,000 strong. I mean, given the fact that Deloitte is global, that may not seem like the largest number, but I like to say we are small, but we are very mighty. Everybody will drop anything to do to help you. If you're a veteran and they're a veteran, and they're happy to assist and continue with your career. And going off on why Deloitte is a great place, here are some of our wins that we continue to have year after year. Military-friendly employer, military-friendly spouse employer, things like that. That's for vets. We constantly keep, making the grade. All right, and now I'm happy to take any questions that anyone may have. And I see that Kevin has joined us, so thank you, Kevin, and we'll be able to answer any questions you may have.
So for your questions, please go ahead and put them into the Q&A or put them into the chat. We want this to be as interactive as possible. And I can go ahead and tee up the questions for you all if that is helpful. And let's start with one of the questions. What is a common mistake military people make in their interview with you or your hiring team?
What is a common mistake? I'm not sure. What do you think? Kevin, do you have anything specific you can answer to that?
Yeah, thank you. And sorry, Tim, I was just on a leadership meeting. I'm talking all things vets and spouses across a lot of different companies. So Kevin Wardy dialing in from Jacksonville, Florida. I've been in this space at Deloitte for 14 years. I've heard a lot of interview debriefs over the years. And if I had to pick one, it's a little bit of what I'm doing now, rambling. We get excited. We love to tell stories. We love to cram 5 to 20 plus years of experience into one answer. And the interviewer informs us that, hey, the candidate hit an absolute home run. And we're like, oh, great, they're going to get an offer. But it was only one question, and I didn't get to the 6 others that I really needed to get to assess. And they weren't picking up on my cues. They weren't reading the room. And they kind of dragged on and on and on. So I would say, hey, when the lights are on and you're going into the game and the adrenaline's pumping, read the room, pick up on the social cues. Don't be afraid to bottom line it like I'm going to do here. Hopefully that entertained the question, and I'll pass the mic back over to you, Susan or Leah.
Great. Thanks, Kevin. All right. Another question that just came in. What job titles should we look at for these 2 buckets of opportunities that you mentioned?
What job titles? I mean, anything that you would find, because the veteran community, I would say, and again, you can back me up on this, Kevin or Brennan, but anything like risk management or potential any cyber things that you may see, just management and leadership skills as a whole. And Kevin, do you have anything you want to back on that?
No, I was going to say those 2 are spot on right out of the gate. They're niche, they're specific. We're still hiring for those, but I'd also challenge you not to put yourself in a box to look out the rearview mirror. You don't have to do what you've been doing in the world of Deloitte. We're huge, and we've built one of the best internal, it's called a boot camp. We call it hire to train, train to hire. We can tap into your core skills: project management, communication, analytics, leading teams, project management, all of the above. That is about 80 to 90% of the core intangibles of our positions you all have out there in the audience. I don't even need to look at your resume. I can tell you, I'm going to know you have it. The military has ingrained it. It's part of your DNA. If there is a topic area that you want to go consult on that you haven't, we most likely and hopefully can get you there, right? We can build that bridge, whether it's through the 150 fellows that we host a year through SkillBridge, or whether it's hire you out of the gate and give you a Deloitte badge and laptop and start training you as an employee. We got a lot of opportunities to create bridges into worlds that our veterans want to go pursue. So I would say the sky is the limit. In regards to leveling, I would think of an hourglass, and analyst, consultant, senior consultant are below the choke point. Analysts are entry-level undergrad degrees. Consultants are, I would say, 3 to 7 years military experience. Senior consultant, around 7 to 15. Above the choke point is manager and senior manager. And we see a lot of 20+ year types are able to come in at that manager level. Senior manager is rather difficult because you have 2 to 3 million in new revenue you got to hit as a senior manager. So not having that Rolodex in those relationships of the purchase owners is kind of a hurdle for vets. But hopefully those job titles level set. I'll also state that you may be 20 years and come down all the way to a C. And we've seen that. We've seen spec operators. I love to use them. Army Ranger type, 25 years of service, came all the way into a C-level role because they wanted that. They wanted to go consult on something they've never been exposed to, but were passionate about. And they needed to start a couple levels back to gain the technical experience. So while some of those years I used as benchmarks, there's definitely some wiggle room. And there's also opportunity that, hey, just because I'm 20 years and I've done learning and development and leadership development, and I don't want to go consult on that, I want to go consult on AI. And I've never done that. That's an opportunity.
Great. A question, I'm going to combine a question from Lisa and Duell. For consulting roles, it seems like remote assignments are most likely. Would that be correct? And if somebody's looking not to relocate, should that person only be looking at roles in the local office?
So you're saying, I'm sorry, what was the first part of the question? They're looking to, they have to.
So for consulting
Travel?
roles, it seems like remote assignments are most likely. Is that correct?
I don't think that's true. I would say that I definitely think it is involved in part of the process. Yes. I mean, and I think a lot of people do enjoy the remote possibility, but there are definitely ways that you would travel. I mean, teams, clients definitely do want you visiting the site from what I've seen already. Kevin, do you have anything, or Brendan, do you have anything you want to add on that?
Yeah, I would just say remote, hybrid. If you're going to go into consulting, client facing, whether it's the federal government or helping the Fortune 500, there's going to be a hybrid. You're in front of the client and you're at the client's office facilities. You're at the Deloitte office meeting the Deloitte team, and you're also able to execute from home. If you look for internal positions with our administration like Deloitte services, so if you query on our career jobs and pick services, that is our cost center, where it is made up of 20,000 employees that help the other 60,000 employees that are client facing. And inside services, you're going to have much more opportunity for remote. Leah, Brennan, and I all work remote when we're not on the road. Brennan's out in Dallas for the week, but our travel is probably 15% of the year compared to 50% to 70% if you're client facing. Hopefully that helps put some parameters, but I'm happy to kind of go deeper if there's a follow on to that.
So there are questions kind of tied to that from Kristen. I noticed many roles have many locations and opportunities across the globe. I applied for 3 in my area that have been declined due to no longer hiring. How can I best utilize the online system and make it through the initial screening?
If I could be blunt and not negative, I would say don't use it. What do I mean by that? I just looked earlier today. I had to do a report out. We have 4.3 million applicants in 9 months this fiscal year. I'll say that one more time, 4.3 million applicants. We're hiring 1% of the applicant pool. Referrals are our number one source of hire. So if you have a 1% chance to get hired and referrals is the best, I'd get away from the machine and I would go reach out to contacts. 9 times out of 10, you're going to know someone in your backyard, in your geo, from your alma mater, from your military branch, from your MOS that is at Deloitte. If not a military service member, somebody that's very closely tied to your world today, connect with them. 15 minutes is all it takes. 15 minutes to learn what they're doing, 15 minutes to learn where it is you want to go, 15 minutes to get 2 recommendations of employees that work at Deloitte that you didn't know going into that call. Grab 2 from each of those, and all of a sudden you're going to have a boardroom of 10 to 15 folks at Deloitte that are supporting you, that are referring you to positions that you share with them. And now you're kind of here's what's required if we get a referral in HR. We manually have to see it. It gets through the automated machine. It gets bumped to the top. Referrals into the machine are assessed and reviewed. Doesn't guarantee employment or an interview, but what it does do is it gets manually seen, and the recruiter also understands you impress somebody at Deloitte that is backing you. So they're going to give you a closer look than someone that just generally applied.
So along those lines, it sounds like definitely reaching out to contacts, networking, kind of getting to know opportunities through word of mouth. But there's a question here from Rich about translating his military experience into a civilian resume that'll catch your eye. He's had numerous resume assistance efforts, but still is having a difficult time getting hits. And it sounds like that may be going through the electronic system, but that's.
Yeah, the electronic system is going to be tough, right? Just because of the sheer numbers and because of the people that are doing the referrals and are putting themselves out there. So they're just getting bumped to the top. Government side, if you're going to go to our government contracting arm, multiple pages are fine. We're probably going to prefer that because you're in the military, you're in the government, you got that experience. We want to see it. And we're thinking about projects and clients that you're tied to. On the corporate side, if you're thinking commercial Fortune 500 consulting, shrink it to one page, bubble things to the top, really talk about how you changed an SOP. That is consulting 101, and we all done it. We've all went into a new command, a new position in the military, looked at the current day processes, reassessed it, and hopefully improved it by the time we left. That is all we do as consultants. We look at how they're currently operating, we benchmark that, tell those stories, use those words, articulate that you're going in to look at a current as is situation, and what was the so what when you left, what was the metrics, what was the impact, and what was kind of the bang that you kind of improved for that client. And the client was that chain of command that you were at.
Great. A question about boot camp from Mersal. Does Deloitte provide a boot camp to train military and technology? And then along the boot camp line, there was another question about our military spouses able to participate in boot camp.
Yes. Want to do the encore one, Leah, for the spouses? I think that resonates well. Do you want me to cover encore?
Oh, you can cover it. Go ahead.
So encore is great for spouses out there that maybe took a hiatus out of employment because of a PCS or couldn't find a new gig in the new role, whatever it may be. Encore is just that. You're coming back for your second gig and crack at the corporate world, and we'll put you through 11 to 12 weeks of paid technical training. So let's say you were in XYZ career, you took a hiatus and you want to get back into it, or you're interested in it, go look at Deloitte's Encore program. And 3 times a year, we're training a group to come in, and spouses have gone through that in great numbers. On top of that, just spouses and veterans away from Encore and into our boot camps. Absolutely. What we're training in technology or analytics or operations changes based on hiring demand. And what I'll sum it up as, we have 30 different lines of business that we can train you in. A few that we just trained veterans in: Workday houses a lot of human capital operations. You've probably seen their commercials. ServiceNow, I actually like ServiceNow's commercials better than Workday. Hopefully this ain't recorded, but they're funny. They're hilarious. There's confetti everywhere. We train in ServiceNow. Salesforce, we partner with them. We train in their advanced analytics and machine learning and analytical modeling. We train you there. Supply chain, we help train and shore up any supply chain skills. So those are just to name a few that we're currently doing. Again, there's 30 different lines of business that we consult on. Some of them are training veterans and bringing them in, and some of them are just waiting for the hiring demand to be turned on. But I'll pass it over to Leah. She's really close to it because she runs our Skill Bridge program. So Leah is basically primarily responsible for getting partners from those 30 lines of business to host fellows for 12 weeks, shore them up in any type of training, and then convert them. 95% of Leah's, she won't tout it, but 95% of her fellows get hired as a full-time employee at Deloitte. That's how successful the boot camps and training she has designed. But Leah, is there anybody else that's training that maybe fell outside some of those technologies?
I don't believe so. I don't know if you want to mention doing any of our core leadership towards, the end there. I know Jackie is going to be sharing the link for CORE. And that's just a 2.5-day workshop. Over 60 Deloitte professionals will help train, use your skills, show you how to successfully use your interests and your likes and push it forward to your career goals. But like I said, it's a 2.5-day workshop. It's kind of all paid trip from Deloitte there. We take about approximately 50 candidates to this, and it's down to Texas, down at Deloitte University, which is like a conference center we have down there, which is ironically where Brennan is. But I know that is coming up here mid-April. So I know the applications for that will be the end of this month, will be due at the end of this month. So
yeah, and maybe Brennan can tee up just a little bit more on maybe the topic areas. He is there delivering CORE, kicks off today. So it's 12:30 Central his time. He is probably in the market, which is our cafeteria there. And it's a 4 seasons. So he's probably eating oysters, shrimp, filet mignon, and hopefully he doesn't have a mouthful. Brent, can you come off mute and maybe just give a tee up of CORE and maybe the chapters that are involved of the training?
Yeah, what I'm eating is none of your business right now. However, some of the chapters that we cover are high level. Know yourself, know your fit. Dropping one of them, but then the last is being able to tell your story, right? So high level. We help you all, being the participants, kind of learn about where you've been and help kind of discover where you want to take that, experience, what you want to be when you grow up, right? So we, like Leah said, it's a 3-day program. It's phenomenal. I highly recommend. If you're either about to be out in a year or you've been out for less than a year, definitely apply. I usually say apply to a few programs and hopefully you get in where you fit in, and you can find it as useful as hundreds have before you.
Thank you, Brennan. Some of the numbers on that, it's been around since 2017. One of the beauties of being at Deloitte is the size and the resources and the intellectual property. And the one thing I'll leave you with CORE, it is not a recruiting play. We do not go down there to try to say, hey, we got 50 people, we got to pull through 40. To give you a sense of the numbers, less than 5% of the participants that have gone through it since 2017, I think it's 2,000 to 3,000 alumni, less than 5% come into Deloitte. And over 95% are hired by the Fortune 500, are hired into the careers that they want. 99.9% have said it was a more than valuable, what is the word I'm trying to say? 99.9 have said it is well worth their time. They would do it all over again. So if you have the minutes, it's an investment in you. It is an opportunity to vets to do something they're not. It's an opportunity to be selfish. It is not, what does my spouse want me to do? What does my family want me to do? What does my leaders want me to do? For 3 days, you get to be selfish and simply think, what do you want to do? And then how do we help get you there? So enough about CORE, but I can't say enough great things about it.
It sounds amazing. And one last question on CORE. I know we were going to move on, but somebody asked if you could participate beyond 12 years. So this person said that it wasn't available for veterans over 12 years. Is there anything similar that you offer for veterans over 20 years?
Yes. We've condensed that 2.5 days into 5 or 6 hours. We've taken it on the road to touch more, right? As Leah mentioned, we cover the costs, so we can afford to fly 200 in a year and house them. And then all the others we want to give back to, we take it on the road, and it's a road show. And our L&D experts have condensed it and brought the same content, same curriculum, and we take it to bases, we take it to conferences. Joint Women's Leadership Summit, which is in San Diego, June or July. We're going to deliver it there in San Diego. That's just one example of where we take it. But we take this all over the country. We take it to academic institutions. You can visit our website. The website will post new areas. If you're not finding something, or You're looking for a specific geography, hit up Leah. We can connect you with Laura Butler, who runs the program. We're taking it to West Point in May. Yeah, yes, to answer your question, it's out there and it's on the road. And our website posts those locations.
Fantastic. I know you did bring it to the Officer Women Leadership Symposium, and it just was met with so much excitement that people really did get a lot out of it. So it sounds just absolutely incredible. All right, another question.
Are we bringing it there in April? We should. And if we want to, let's talk about it.
Okay, let's do it. All right, love it. All right, perfect. All right, another question, and that is about the type of opportunities there. Do you offer part-time or casual status for as needed remote mid-level positions? And another question is, does it work in international development?
Great. Well, I'll just answer a little bit going off of what Kevin said about mid-level positions. I would say that's the consultant area that he pointed on. So that's definitely an answer. Kevin, do you have anything else that you wanted to add to that?
Yeah, I mean, in short, yes, we have it all, right? Contracting positions, project delivery where you're hired just for a 2-year gig assignment. We have delivery centers in Lake Mary outside of Orlando, Gilbert outside Phoenix, Mechanicsburg, PA. If you want to do more, hey, less travel, but still consult. I just want to deliver on work around the topic and work out of that facility. So it's like Baskin Robbins. Is Baskin Robbins still around these days? But we got 31 flavors from career models, temp positions, contract positions, full-time. Yes, yes, and yes.
Love it. So another question, how would you recommend military veterans as well as military spouse to really leverage their military experience beyond the networking and beyond some of the things you mentioned? Is there anything else you would advise? And then once they do get in, how can they leverage that once they are part of the Deloitte team?
I mean, we briefly mentioned the Skill Bridge program with Hiring Our Heroes. I would say they help with military spouses as well as transitioning veterans. So that is a great company or great organization, I should say, that you should go ahead and contact. And if you need contact information, you're welcome to email me. I can definitely pass you to the right people. But it is a 12-week fellowship, and it's actually new 12 weeks for the military spouses as well. So military spouse and caretaker. I really encourage you to definitely seek that route. Kevin, do you have anything else for that one?
Yeah, my strategy is the same, right? Shore up a gap, leverage a program that can shore up your current experience to your future role. SkillBridge does that. Other ways to do that, right? You can do that from your couch. So beyond the networking, if recruiters in corporate America are not reaching out to you proactively, begging you to work for them, clearly there's some type of gap in your experience to what that recruiter has been tasked to hire for. So you're going to know if you have something in your background, because recruiters go after the military population that need that population because they know if it works for their hiring manager. We have 500 recruiters at Deloitte. The military population does not work for all 500 of them. The ones that do are out there banging down your door. Please come work at Deloitte. Please work for us. And you're hearing from them. If you want to work for one of the recruiters or go through the process with one of the recruiters at Deloitte, and I use us as simply as an example, they're not calling you because there's some type of gap. Identify the gap. Don't be afraid to be proactive, to read that job description inside out. Be honest with yourself. What are your skill sets? What are your experiences? And if you're not hitting a mark, it's not going to get through the AI machine. And even if you get a referral and a seat at the table, if you're missing something, you want to be able to tell the story of, I'm a self-starter, I have self-initiative, I identified 2 bullets on this job description that you probably are already thinking as gaps. And here's what I've done since the time I've applied to the time I'm sitting here to shore up some of that gap. You're not going to shore up the gap 100% and fill the bucket. That's okay. But what you just demonstrated there is going to separate you from the competition. So that's one more step I would say to take on top of the networking, atop applying, is be honest with yourself and identify where the gaps are and leverage all of the 44,000 VSOs out there that can help you shore those gaps to get you where you want to be.
Sounds great. another question. What is a common surprise for people when they start working at Deloitte?
I could have a few, but if you want to go to that one, Kevin, go for it.
I just got off the phone with somebody that started with Deloitte. They were 20 plus years military. They underestimated the entrepreneur type culture inside here. What do I mean by that? The example they used is they were Navy, Bupers, Millington would call and orders were coming and they couldn't run from them if they wanted. Job security was there. Job security was not a thought in the military. When you come into Deloitte, while you're hired by us, you then got to go work for someone else. You have to go solve some other company's problem, which means you got to go find that work and it's not guaranteed to you. I'm going to say again, it's not guaranteed that we hired you, great, you're here, but go get yourself staffed on a project and you own that process. We support you. We have a detailer. They don't live in Millington. They're not called detailers. They're called a resource deployment specialist, and they're in charge of deploying you on projects. But it's also not on that deployment specialist to get you staffed either. At the end of the day, the responsibility falls on you. And that takes networking. So the level of networking once you're inside to get your brand, what can you do? There's a partner that's going to staff you up. They get to pick from a bench of unbelievable talent at Deloitte that all got through the interview process and got an offer. Why are they going to pick Kevin Wordy off the bench versus Brennan Aboyle or Leah Jones? What have I done to separate myself from my peers? And that takes work and minutes. That's not part of our natural culture in the military. That to me was the most surprising. And it still lives true for a lot of veterans that come in.
Thank you. That's really helpful. All right. A question from Renee. Does Deloitte have a nonprofit arm?
I am not sure about that.
We have a corporate citizenship team that gives back and does a ton of outreach for impact into various communities, as well as hard dollar commitments. A lot of the things that we do at Deloitte are soft dollars and intellectual property where we actually go in, I guess, and like a nonprofit would do good to either an organization or a community to help their C-suite. So we do a lot of altruistic philanthropy, but to say we have a nonprofit, I don't believe that's the technical setup of how we deliver that. I've never got that question. It was a great question, and I'm actually going to review how we're technically phrased our corporate citizenship team. So, tremendous question.
Great, thank you. Another question kind of along the same lines. Does Deloitte work in international development?
Yes.
I would say.
So we actually have a Deloitte global team that would take all of the 13 Deloitte members firms across the country and standardize processes and keep them compliant and in sync. So there's international development there. And then we also do it for organizations that have an international footprint that we synchronize and harmonize their own operations, policies, and procedures. Economic development in growing countries. We get vastly involved there. So tons of opportunities, whether you live stateside and want to travel and consult on that type of work, you want to go work for Deloitte UK or other Deloitte entity firms, or you can work in Deloitte Global to help out the 13 Deloitte companies across the world as well around stuff like that. So a lot of different avenues in that space.
Wow, sounds great. All right, a question from Noel. What's the threshold? Now, this sounds like a kind of there's a little bit of an inside track there. What's the threshold for billable hours per week? Is this dependent on the client and or the project?
Yes, and yes. Typically, fully staffed, we can get 45 hours a week billable, where your denominator is only 40 hours a week. So 2080 is your denominator. Lee and I were doing this math yesterday. And it'll shoot out your utilization rate. And if you're on the bottom half of that hourglass that I outlaid, your utilization rate is expected to be higher. So entry-level analyst, we just want you learning. It's like 95% target, meaning when you divide that 2080, into a numerator, it better shoot out 95% or higher. If you're fully staffed, you can be accruing 5 extra hours a week on top of 100%. So that helps you with PTO, holiday you want to take, and any gaps. As you grow your career and you move up that hourglass, that 95% dips all the way down towards 60%, to where, hey, we only need you 60% billable because we need you winning work. And we need you leading the troops and managing and coaching. So your billable hours will go down as you grow your career.
Great. All right, here's another probing question. What are the main reasons people stay at Deloitte? And what are the main reasons people leave Deloitte?
I mean, for me, I could answer that. I would think the people, the community, why they would stay. And then for leaving Deloitte, I have not left Deloitte, so I couldn't say that yet. But I don't know, maybe just that it perhaps wasn't what you thought it was going to be, you know, as far as like you really are in control of your own fate, your own career here. So I don't know, Kevin, do you have any more to add to that?
I would go people as well. The people are sharp. They're bright. They're 1% of the applicant pool. More importantly, they're humbled, they're grounded, and they're collaborative in nature because that's part of our assessment. We don't like to hire huddle boarders that just huddle around and only want to look at their content and not share in their eyes versus teams. Because of their level of aptitude, because of their humbleness, and because of the collaboration, I stay. If I were to leave or ever kind of walked away, it'd probably be because of burnout. That's probably common to hear because our product is you, and our product what's between your ears, and it can never stay the same. If you're not learning, you're not growing, you're not adapting, you're not going to be here. And sometimes staying in a continuous learning environment, folks just tap and say, enough is enough. I have enough level of expertise. I want to apply that level of expertise and stay at that level of expertise. And this organization is going to tap into me and they steal you. You become extremely marketable when you leave an industry like consulting in an organization the size of Deloitte. So as we see people leave, I would say that's probably, that's mine. I don't want to say it's the most common. Most common is probably other opportunities. When veterans email me, say, thank you, love it. I just got 50K more to go here at Coca-Cola or wherever they're going. These companies, they know what they're doing. Hey, go learn this at Deloitte for 2 or 3 years. Can look on LinkedIn, query it on tenure at Deloitte or Bain or McKinsey or Accenture or E&Y, and say, hey, we need someone with 3 years of experience out of Deloitte's supply chain team, and they're going to pay you, right? So that's out there as well. Sorry, I went on a little bit of a tangent of folks stealing our talent.
Got to be frustrating because you do all the work to get them up to speed and top of their game, and they get lured away.
Here's the other beauty looking at Deloitte. I thought the same, right? Oh, my partner's going to crush me. They love it. It's a win for us, right? It's a huge win that someone's stealing our talent every year, and they're going out, and that veteran is getting more money for their family. They love Deloitte, had a great experience, and now they're even better off. Makes another spot for the new vet coming right behind them. So, yeah, it is frustrating, but we like to look at it in recruiting as, hey, that's a new opportunity, and another 1% we can get hired on a new requisition.
Love it. All right, Veronica wants to know if you can provide an example of someone who has a military healthcare background, non-clinical MD or nurse that is working at Deloitte. It's a little specific.
I don't know if I personally have an example, but I know that within.
Yes, we do.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
Who do we know on our team that's a nurse?
Oh, yeah. I was thinking more on our market offerings. Yeah, so another member of our team, Tara Buffy, she is a former nurse, labor and delivery nurse, and she has transitioned over to the Deloitte corporate world. She wanted something a little bit more steady with more, daylight hours and not so much working midnight time frame. So she's awesome. She heads up our neurodiversity fellowships, and the team there, it's amazing. She does great work and just helping neurodiverse people find fellowships and then careers after that. So.
Yeah, and the healthcare industry on the commercial side, huge, right? So we're helping all the big players in healthcare industry and solving their operations and their synergies there. The government side in healthcare is big if you want to go that route. And most importantly, it's less about kind of, do you want to stay in that game just because you have the know-how? We can pull and tap into all of that healthcare background in the military that you had and look at the tangible skills that you gained and apply those to a whole new world as well.
Sounds like something for everybody.
Yeah.
All right, a question from Kristen, and she's curious about the culture in the community, since it is a little bit different than what they may be used to. Is there a type of onboarding that gets you brought into the culture and community?
I mean, definitely as far as when you get hired onto Deloitte, you have an onboarding program that you need to continue. You have several weeks to do it. It's all of, you know, it's just the traditional military training if you're familiar with that and how you need to do annual stuff. So it's courses like that, but you will be given a mentor, given someone on your team that will be your, you know, guide as you continue further on in your career. Brenna was mine. So yeah, there's definitely a person or avenues, just things that you can have. Sorry, I'm misspeaking. That will definitely help you. So Kevin, do you have anything else on that?
Yeah, I mean, you hit all the key pillars of the flagships of what we call the 12-month journey. That, you know, we as an employer understand we need to be ready. We're going to receive talent that has never been in industry or consulting before, most likely. How do you prepare for that? And we pride ourselves in the level of infrastructure, horsepower, and programs that we put behind that. One key team that does that is our veteran and military affiliate group. That's you might have heard business resource groups, ERGs, affinity groups, inclusion councils. They're all the same thing, right? Ours is over 6,000 strong for veterans that want to give back into incoming veterans. Of that 6,000, 50% of it is from the veteran population, and the other 50% is from non-veterans that want to give back, that can help. So we offer you both perspectives in your first year, a non-veteran and a veteran. Brendan talked about core, that's 2.5 days long. Figure out, where do you want to go? Our learning and development team took it a step further and said, well, what about once you're 6 months into your new role and you've been there and you realize they dress differently, they talk differently, they lead differently, they manage differently, and you feel that kind of common ground? We bring you into an 8-hour class called Core Success. And you're now surrounded by recent veteran hires that have started across all of Deloitte for 8 hours, sharing the same pain points and going through state-of-the-art curriculum of how do you adapt and navigate these potholes and hurdles that you've been experiencing, and how do you set yourself up for success? Mentorships, sit reps. We have monthly newsletters that are like comics and cartoons to laugh, to videos of testimonials of new veterans that get hired, to Rob Riggle coming in to do a panel and just laugh with us. But every month we have something for the veteran community, both personally and professionally, as well as staffing. I mentioned, man, you got to get yourself staffed on a project. There's a lot of things out there that, hey, I would love to staff a veteran. Who know that newsletter is awesome. And veterans are like, oh, cool, I'm on the bench. This person needs a vet. I'm going to reach out and get myself staffed. So there's a lot of bells and whistles in that 12-month journey that was built by veterans, is managed by veterans, and continues to be assessed and evolves by all the new veteran hires that hopefully some of you come through and you guys give us feedback to improve upon it, because it is a living process.
Wow. So you mentioned this just a little bit, and that was around the culture and the nuance that Renee wants to turn kind of over a new leaf, or open up the discussion for, is around work-life balance. Both of you have 3 kids. It sounds like many people in the family have families. It sounds like they have a life outside of Deloitte. Could you speak a little bit to work-life balance and how the culture at Deloitte evolves or even thinks about work-life balance?
Deloitte loves work-life balance. It's been key, right? When I started back in 2009, the attrition rate was 2 to 3% points higher across the industry than it is today. That just tells you that the industry as a whole, as consulting, had to understand work-life balance and retain some talent. While it's healthy to allow some of your folks to go, it was unhealthy at the number that we were at. We've invested in mental health, physical health, and the family. We talk about it as a team, the three of us plus Tara, who's a mother as well. We're mothers and fathers first. We're Deloitte employees second. We live by that. You got to go out and run an errand, go run your errand. Just get your work done. I'm a sports guy, Bill Belichick, just do your job. Everyone knows your job. We're all athletes, we're all professionals. I don't care when you do your job, just do your job. Now, the client, right, is going to also have their perspective on when they need you to do your job. So you may be with clients that say, hey, Deloitte, we really need you to, talk to these leaders in these windows, these days of the week. So they might put some parameters around it. But the industry has got really, really good at planning. When you get staffed on a project, when you get staffed on an account, you're going to be able to family plan with your significant other, with your kids, and understand this is going to be dad or mom's travel tempo. I'm traveling at X% the next amount of months. These are the weeks I'm traveling. These are the days of the weeks I'm gone. These are the days I'm home, working from home. These are the hours that I can expect. We got really, really good so we can look at the whole family when we're staffing a project, and they can communicate and you guys can family plan. Hopefully, now, how does that play out in different pockets of the firm? It really, like Deloitte services, I mentioned virtual, right? 15% travel. Government consulting, dial that up to like 25%, 30%. Commercial, dial that up, helping the Fortune 500 to like 50 to 60% travel. Hopefully that gives you a sense of, all right, in my world, in my situation, what's the max I want to go? 15, 25, or 60. And you're not always going to be operating at that tempo, but those are some good benchmarks in those three different pockets of the firm.
That's really helpful. I'm going to go ahead and launch a poll, and then at the same time, I am going to ask another question that came in from Duell. Is there a standard hiring process? And I know you've spoken to this in a variety of ways, but the question is, what can we expect beyond the recruiter screen? Brennan has shared the case study prep page. Are there any additional resources that you recommend beyond what you've already shared?
I'm not sure. Kevin, do you have a response for that?
Yeah, so usually minimum 3 interviews, 30 minutes apiece. Brun teed up the case study. Recruiters will tell you out of the gate if it's going to be an individual case study, a group case study, or hey, no case studies needed in this line of business. Not all 30 lines of business or services are going to give you the case. But I would say at a bare minimum, 30 behavioral type settings, one-on-one, giving you an opportunity to demonstrate how you interact in the past is indicative of how you would tackle a problem in the future. And also they're going to be assessing your communication, your people skills, because we're going to be putting you in front of a client and you represent Deloitte. So what you're saying is important, but actually how you're saying it and your mannerisms and your ability to read the room is just as important as you prep for that. So I'd say minimum 3, sometimes it's 4, could go as long as 5 interviews, but 30 minutes a pop, and ask your recruiter if it's an individual group case will be added in.
Anything else that you would like to add?
I mean, I just want to say thank you again for joining us. I think just touching on the fact that networking is very important in Deloitte, and as well as getting into Deloitte. It's very important, and everyone does it. I remember thinking getting out of the military that was such a weird thought, just calling people and asking asking for help. I wasn't used to that. I was just used to doing everything myself. So it is the name of the game. I welcome you to come connect with me on LinkedIn, and I can help you assist that way and all of that. So, but networking is definitely the name of the game, and it is what everyone expects you to do. It's not crazy, I promise.
Thank you all so much for joining us on this call. Come see Leon and me in person. We'll be at the Academy Women event in April. Kevin will be switching places with me and enjoying the oysters and shrimp. But please come by the booth, shake hands, and introduce yourselves. We'd love to meet you in person. Thanks all for having me.
Love it. Thank you. Thank you all for being here. So I'm going to close it off and say a huge thank you to the Deloitte team. You've all been fantastic. I appreciate how candid you've been And I mean, it sounds incredible, and there's something for everybody. Coming up, we have our annual career coaching workshop and Officer of Women Leadership Symposium on the 13th and 14th of April. Check out our website at militaryowls.org/owls. And that will be offered both virtually as well as in person. So we love to see you either way. Also, don't forget to submit your profile in the professional profile directory, which we share with organizations such as Deloitte to help find you and you to find them. And then also jump into our LinkedIn pages, Academy Women, Military Owls, and Stand with Military Women. On that note, I thank you all so much for an incredible webinar, and we look forward to seeing you again soon.